Platonic friendships, do they actually exist? Or is that just something we tell ourselves so we're able to sleep better at night? Like your boyfriend has a girl best friend, or your girlfriend has a guy best friend. Totally innocent, right? Or is it a ticking time bomb of awkwardness and passive aggressive texts that will soon implode your relationship? And honestly, when it comes to friendships in general, how do you know when to chill and when to be suspicious? Here's the rule. Always trust your gut. That little instinct you ignore at 2 a.m. in the group chat is usually right. So today we're talking about platonic relationships, when they work, when they're complicated, and how to protect your peace while still allowing people into your life. Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Still Can't Cook. Don't forget to subscribe wherever you watch your podcast, 5 stars, and follow us on YouTube. Dare I say, friendships and relationships are complicated. And apparently, platonic ones are like trying to assemble IKEA furniture without using the instructions. There's always going to be one extra piece left and someone's going to end up crying. Today, we're diving into a guide to navigate friendships that aren't romantic, but still have the potential to mess with your emotion and your romantic relationships. We'll cover if platonic relationships actually exist, when your partner has a close friend of the opposite gender, how to spot when something feels off, and why trusting your gut is a non-negotiable. If you've ever been suspicious of just friends or wondered if your intuition was right, this one's for you. Here is the big question. Is it possible for men and women, or women and men, or any combination to actually just be friends? Yes, usually, sometimes, maybe. But it depends on boundaries, transparency, and a clear understanding of expectations. The tricky part is people rarely lay it out. So you tend to overthink texts, social media interactions, or that inside joke that you weren't privy to. Because there is nothing worse than sitting with your partner and their best friend while they laugh over something you know nothing about. Because if I hear you had to be there one more time, I'm gonna lose my mind. I have a lot of male friends. I have a lot of platonic friends. And it's always been a win for me. Having a guy and having someone's opinion that you're not sleeping with or has no sexual attraction to you, well, I mean, I'm minimizing. Of course they have sexual attraction to me, it's me. But meaning they're not acting on those impulses. No, but I mean, I have a lot of really good platonic friends. But sometimes if the partner doesn't recognize that that really is all it is and there's an air of jealousy, even the slightest joke, inside joke in a text message could ruin a friendship. I had it happen that my male friend who was married would always say, it was something I found very aggressive and I didn't like it. It's almost like, you have a friend that they know your pet peeve. So I had a pet peeve. I hate the term hot piece of ass. I think it's really disrespectful. Doesn't ever fit. It doesn't make any sense to me. We're grown-ups. Who says that? What are you talking about? It's a terrible phrase. I don't like it. So I was complaining in a text message about it, probably on again, off again. And his response to break the monotony of my drama was and I think there's a HPOA. He wrote it in initials. And I was like, what are you even talking about? And then he wrote back, hot piece of ass. And I was like, you're an idiot. I was talking about a situation. And he's like, I know, but didn't it make you laugh? And I'm like, no, you're a schmuck. I was like, didn't make me laugh at all, but thanks. That text message was read by the wife and literally flipped out. She flipped out because she thought he was actually calling me a hot piece of ass, which he wasn't. But without the backstory, this is an inside joke she knew nothing about. So weeks go by and I'm texting and there's no response. And I'm like, what is going on? And mind you, it's important to note the backstory. I tried to be her friend. He was my friend first when they were dating, introduced to her, they got engaged, remained very kind to her, they got married, she lost her mind. She lost her mind. I'm not the one to sweat. I'm the one who's bringing your drunk ass husband home, putting him in bed and saying, see you later. Not trying to, she should have known. She was an idiot. Anyway, she's still an idiot. Clearly we're still not friends. Anyhow, back to the story. So I'm calling and I'm texting and he's not answering. And I'm like, are you alive? Like, what is going on here? You can't ghost your best friend. Like, what's happening? And he said, she read our texts and flipped out. And I was like, but did you explain it? He's like, yeah. I said, okay, give me her number. Let me explain it. He's like, no, she's always been jealous of you and blah, 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 blah. Fast forward 8 years later, and our friendship has completely changed. We speak randomly every now and then, no communication with her at all. She actually never accepted the backstory that it really was just to make me laugh in the middle of a conversation that I was probably talking too much about the same topic, but I was very upset about it. So it would have been funny had I known what HPOA meant. Had he written it out first time, it probably would have been funny, but I was like, what are you talking about? I'm talking about something serious. What are you? And he was like, oh, hot piece of ass. Anyway, so not knowing the inside jokes when you have a platonic friendship can bite you in the very hot piece of ass that you have. Platonic friendships are real, but it's imperative that the person in the relationship, if one of these platonic friends has an open dialogue and a respect and trust in their relationship. Because if there's the slightest question of someone's faithfulness, like if you think someone's going to cheat, the first person you think they're going to cheat with is the platonic friend. No matter what, there's nothing you can do right. So first you have to have trust in your relationship for the platonic friendships to ever work. Then you have to be open and honest about the friendship. And if you have an inside joke, maybe explain it ahead of time so there's no big surprise when it comes up, such as my HPOA. The takeaway is platonic friendships are real, but can only work when everyone involved respects the limits. Speaking of boundaries, what about being friends with your friends' partners? Okay, let's get pointed. Should you even be good friends with your friends' partners? It's tricky. You want to be kind and social, but some friendships can get messy fast, especially if boundaries are not clear. Should your partner have other really close friends, and should you make an attempt to be friends with them too? When is friendly a little too friendly? I had a situation where my partner had a lot of female friends. He's definitely better friends with women than he is with men for a myriad of reasons, most of which are not good. In any case, he did have a specific female friend who constantly was texting. This was in the beginning of COVID, and it was nonstop, 2 a.m., 4 a.m. Again, the time matters. We need to discuss this. When you're texting or calling your platonic friend and they're in a relationship, you don't call and text at all hours of the evening unless you want the partner to have an issue with you, correct? Unless you're friends already, unless this has been an established platonic friend now knows your partner and now is sort of friends with the partner, which is what I think it always should end up. I think in any good platonic friendship, the partner becomes friends with the friend. It becomes our friend, not just my friend. Does that make sense? So this one friend was texting and calling and texting and calling, and I was like, why does she keep calling? So finally, I decided when he was in the shower, I was friends with other friends of theirs. I had just never met her. And I read, because I might have looked in his phone, she said she was going to be out with some specific friend that I actually had the phone number for. So while he was showering, FaceTime called the friend, the one we were actually both friends with, one of his other platonic friends, who happened to be a kind human being, a nice, respectful woman, unlike the one I called. FaceTime the one friend. She is with the other friend who keeps calling. And I said, hi, it's Kelly. Nice to finally meet you. And she looks at me, pretend she can't speak English. Oh, you can't speak English now? You're calling and blowing up his phone and he only speaks English? She just said, ciao. She said, clearly Italian. And I said, ciao, is there a reason why you call 25 times a day, 35 text messages and send pictures of yourself? By the way, key platonic friendships, no photographs of yourself in bathing suits. How about that? Let's not do that. You don't need to send yourself half naked to my boyfriend and then call yourself his friend. Possibly feeling a little personal about this? Maybe. Anyway, so I then introduced myself. He's in the shower. I said, oh, it's Kelly. Nice to meet you. By the way, if you can't get a hold of him, just take my phone number. And next time, if there's an emergency, you can call me. Here is my attempt to clean circle, close the loop. I will be your friend now because you're his platonic friend. Well, that didn't go well. Set up a dinner. Finally, okay, so I do the thing. I do the exchange giver. I think I'm like, stating my claim. This is my man. I was the jealous girlfriend, which was stupid, but she called a lot. So then comes, we're in Europe, happens to be in Italy. That's where the friends were. And we're there. And there's a dinner now, a dinner party. And all of these people who I knew, plus this one friend who I had never met, this is our like meeting night. But to me, it was like just a night and she was happening to be there. It was not a big deal to me. Well, the entire thing, she was like, oh, finally, this is when we get to meet. This whole table is for us to meet. I'm like, what are you even talking about? Know your place. So I think, I'm not going to go into the whole story because I'll get too wordy and I'll come up another time. I think what's important in platonic friendships is that you as the platonic friend need to know your place, male or female. It's super important you don't overstep the line and try to act as if you're the partner. Does that make sense? I'm the girlfriend, you're the platonic friend. If I say don't call 300, don't call 300 times, then don't call 300 times. Like if you need him and he's not answering, here's my phone number. I was actually trying to establish a friendship, also doing the like, here I am, get to know me and step back. But I did it very friendly. And guess what? End of the day, still not my friend. Really don't like the person anyway. And she's still his platonic friend, but not mine. If you want to, at any point, become friends with your friend's partner, you have to do it from a place of respect and know your boundaries and your line in the friendship. As a female friend, you need not to call a person who's in a relationship 2 o'clock, 3 o'clock in the morning. As a male friend, men can't call their female friends that are in relationships at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning unless it is an us now. Like I have friends now that I could say, oh, it's Sam, and answer the phone at 5 a.m. and it's not going to be weird because it's already been established that this is a platonic friendship. We've never had any relationship, and if he's having a bad day, he can call. So if you have those rules, that's one thing, and if your partner's comfortable, that's great. But if you have a sketchy friendship that they're trying to avoid being friends with your partner, red flag. Not really your friend, platonic or not. No platonic dude friend should grab the door if your boyfriend's there. That's your boyfriend's job. Like if you're the platonic female friend, don't fix his hair. Don't you wipe anything off his face. That's my job. It's crazy. So we're at dinner. I meet this person, whatever, so insignificant in my whole entire life and no one I would ever spend 5 seconds with. But then the server comes over and it is very clear that my partner at the time is hosting this table. So when the server came over and asked what kind of wine we wanted, she ordered the bottle of wine. And I was like, and all of a sudden his other friend in Italian said like, basta, what are you doing? And then said as she got up, he goes, she wants your role. She wants to be you. She's not supposed to order the wine. I'm like, I know, I never liked her anyway. And I was correct, you skank. Anyway, I'm not that platonic friend. I'm the cool friend who would never touch a man's face when his girlfriend was there. I don't touch a man's face when his girlfriend's not there. I treat them exactly the same when the friend's there, when the partner's there, or when the partner's not there. That's another rule. Platonic friend rules. Treat the friend exactly the same way when you're alone as you will in front of their partner, and then you really are platonic. But if there's more physical interactions or more cares or private jokes that the girlfriend don't know about or the boyfriend doesn't know about, you guys are looking to figure out when you're going to screw. Some signs to watch out for. Are they transparent about the friendship or secretive? Do they include or respect you in social situations? Does it consistently make you uncomfortable? There's some other things to ask yourself. Does the length of their friendship or relationship actually matter? Does age matter? So clearly, the timing on the friendship matters. If you have a partner who meets someone of the opposite sex and they become very close friends now, I think you might want to revisit that situation. If you come into a relationship and the friendship already exists, a pre-existing friend, then I think it's smart for you as the partner to try to build a friendship yourself. And if that doesn't work, then that platonic friend isn't really platonic. There's some other scheme here. I don't know what the scheme is, but they're scheming. So I think the length of time does matter. And of course, age matters. Age really matters. If you have, again, it matters across the board. If you are younger, and you're in your sexual prime and you're just about looks and partying and yeah, female friends, a lot of alcohol, clubbing happens, things can happen. As you get older, it's more like a martini and a nap. I don't typically nap with my male friends. If you have a platonic friendship and you have the person at your home, if you're not friends with their partner, I feel like that's a sticky situation. I have a very close friend and I'm friends with her and her husband, and I'm always alone with her husband. It's a very clear friendship. There's nothing weird about it. She's not threatened at all by it, which I also find insulting because I'm really hot and I don't know why she's worried about me stealing a man, but she's not. And so we can hang out and it's completely open, and she'll call me, she'll call him, we'll FaceTime, everything. But then I've had boyfriends, partners who had female friends that would be over the house till the wee hours of the morning, and they would lie about it because, oh, I thought you'd get mad. And it's like, well, now I am mad. Had you had said, Tom, Mary, and Bill were here, and I'm like, oh, Mary was there too? Fine, but don't tell me, Tom and Bill were over and forget to mention Mary. And then I see on Mary's Instagram that she's leaving your house. It's like, you have to be open. You have to be very honest for a platonic relationship to work. I think all parties involved, the partner, the friends, and the person. So what's your partner? It's a three-way street here. I can't figure out who it is. It's you, your partner, and your platonic friend. And if everybody isn't respectful, if there's any hidden agenda, you're gonna smell it. Trust your senses. If it smells like a pig, it's a pig. And I think that a lot of times in platonic friendships, newer friendships, this is why time matters. There's something you got to worry about it. If you know someone for a million years and this person gets into a relationship, I think one of the hardest things to do is know when it's your time to back out as the platonic friend and be like, okay, I am not the first person now. Almost like dating a man with children. If you date someone who has a best friend for a very long period of time, my first thing was I would want to win them over. I would want my partner's best friend. No, my partner's best friend to like me. And I would hope, which has happened, thank God for me, that I have male friends and their partners meet me as the long-term friend and are now my best friends. I've made some of my best female friends through my male friends' relationships. And then I've had some enemies based on the same thing because insecure women didn't get to know me. But I think that really the most important thing, if you meet a new friend while you're in a relationship and become friends with someone of the opposite sex, I think it's a little sketchy. Now, I could be wrong. You guys can tell me how you feel about it, but I think the length of time of the friendship actually does matter. It has to have started before your relationship. But I guess then there's work, right? Someone could be at work and you meet someone at work. That's how you have affairs with secretaries. Every movie. And best friends always become lovers in movies too. So it starts as a friendship. They met when they were 2 and then they get married when they're 20. It's what happens. Didn't happen for me. Anyway, length of time of friendships. I think that, yes, it matters. And I think the age of the people matters too, because your expectations from a person and from a friendship changes as you get older. I much prefer sitting down, having a glass of wine with my male best friends or going to dinner than I did when I was in my 20s and it was about going to clubs and hanging out. And I think more things can happen when you're younger because you make bad choices, especially if there's alcohol involved. She says. Imagine that I would say that. However, if you notice repeated moments that make you uneasy, don't just brush them off. Your feelings are valid. And addressing them early avoids resentment later. Trust. And honestly, this is where most people fail. They second guess themselves. So let's talk about trusting your gut, because your intuition is usually smarter than any overthinking scenario you've probably imagined. Your gut is smarter than your brain at 2 a.m. overanalyzing every emoji and rereading every group chat. Here's the thing about group chats with your platonic friends. I've never been invited into a platonic friend group chat. Isn't that weird? I've started them. I've made dinner plans. I've been the creator of, but I've never been included in. What does it say? It says that the platonic friends in most of my relationships were not actually just platonic. Wow, I knew it. Now I have proof. Yeah, I've never been added in a platonic friend group chat thing. I think it's smart. I think it's a nice way of breaking the ice. I know I've done it myself to create less tension between myself and female friends, and it didn't work out. Is it me? Think it could be me? Am I the problem? I'm not the problem. I'm a very nice platonic friend. Ask all of my friends, except for the ones I slept with. I'm only kidding. Like there's one. We'll talk about that later. But yeah, I think group chat is a really nice way of bringing your partner into your friend group without it being as big of a deal as it was when I had to do that stupid meet and greet of the platonic friend who was an idiot. So to avoid that awkward moment, I think a group chat is a fun way of having a friend meet your partner and maybe get some of the private jokes again. And I think that if you are in a group chat, and that here's a line I'm coming up with here. I'm making this rule now. If you have a group chat with your platonic friend and the partner, then if you do have a 2:00 in the morning issue, do you have to do the group chat or do you do directly to the platonic friend? I think you have to do it. Once you're in the group chat with the partner, I think all conversations have to happen there. It's like going back of the house. You can't, when someone inboxes you on Instagram or Facebook and says something weird, and like, if you want to be my friend and you're married and you want to say hi to me, write it on my wall. Don't inbox me if you're married. You don't want to be my friend. If you did, you'd be like, hey, Kelly, nice to see you. I haven't seen you in 20 years. But if you're inboxing me like, hey, you look good, you're gross and trying to cheat on your wife. So if you have a group, or your husband, if you have a group text with your partner and platonic friend, partner, and you have to stay in that group text. If you go off of it, it's an affair. It's a text affair. It's affair. I lose my words sometimes. It's a text affair. It's text cheating. If we're all friends, now we're all friends, and it's like, kumbaya, my love, kumbaya. I want to know everything that's happening. I need to be involved. Bad haircut? Don't just text him, tell me too. But then I guess, are you in someone's diary then? It's like, I'm asking you to be part of you need to be my best friend and his best friend maybe? I think I might be a little needy. I could be a little needy when it comes to the platonic friends. Though I've never made friends with any of my partner's friends. I've had really narcissistic partners that didn't ever want me. They wanted to be friends with all of my friends. Jeez Louise, I had to share everything. But I was really I don't think I've gained a platonic friend of my partners. Maybe one. Maybe there's one. But that's not enough. I'm 54 years old. Shouldn't I have friends of friends? Shouldn't I have friends of my exes by now? Right? Do you guys have like a list of friends that you met from your ex? I don't even have any that are still my friends. Maybe this is a personal issue. Maybe we need to do a whole show about what's wrong with Kelly. I'm a good platonic friend though. But I might not be a good partner to the partner's platonic friends. I'd love to have the people who I hate and who hate me come on the show and talk about it. That would go well. Anyway, platonic friend chats, I think once it starts and people are in a chat together, if you side chat, it's sketchy. If something feels wrong, it probably is. And addressing it isn't controlling. It's self-respecting. Don't let anyone make you feel crazy for your intuition. Ask questions, set boundaries, and communicate clearly. Sometimes your gut may overreact, but usually it's protecting you. The best way to avoid a messy situation is listening to your gut, adjusting if needed, but never ignoring it. So clearly, you have to trust your gut. You have to listen to it. If you feel awkward in a situation when it comes to meeting the platonic friend, I keep doing platonic because it's been like this for me, but it could be just platonic friend without the quotes, apparently, supposedly. But if you do feel that there's something wrong, investigate it. Ask the questions. Be honest. Communicate with your partner. And it's not wrong to communicate with the platonic friend what you feel. Had I had that happen with the stupid comment in the text message, I did say, can I call her? Because I wanted to respect her in the relationship. I think things would have been better because you're not going to believe your boyfriend or husband or whatever. The girl calls and says, hey, really seriously, there was nothing going on there. That shows they respect your space in the relationship. I think you need to trust your gut, communicate, tell people what you're comfortable with, set your boundaries. I'm not very good at that. I tried very hard to do whatever felt right for the partner and for the friend. And I think for me, it turned out, I got rage. Imagine that. It got me like very angry. I had female friends of my partners, and not just one, of other partners, more than just the on again, off again. And I just never, I think a lot of times in my situations, the female friends were used as kind of a jealousy provoker and a way to have me react. And I did. I failed that test. Big old shocker. Kelly failed the test. But I think that honesty is important. Trust your gut, ask the questions. And then also, if you are like me, if you have a history of it being kind of used as a power play, these other friends, maybe check yourself, and maybe it isn't this situation. Sometimes we bring old topics into new situations, and you might officially off the bat, because maybe your partner ended up, leaving you for the best friend or whatever, affairs happen, things happen, and you find out later that they were together. I just think it's important that you take each situation individually. Don't blanket statement this platonic friend thing, because sometimes people will see platonic friendships and they will have their own judgments, which is really funny. People thinking, oh, so-and-so and so, they hang out a lot. That's weird. It's not weird. Men and women can actually be friends. And other people can make it weird, and lack of communication can make it weird. So don't bring your old crap into a new relationship and just judge platonic friends based on what they were like in the past. I'm literally telling myself that. This is therapy for me. Thank you so much, Kelly. I'm going to pay myself $120 after this. Once you trust yourself, the next step is figuring out how to actually make platonic friendships work. Because yes, they can be amazing if you do it right. Healthy platonic friendships are built on trust, respect, and honesty. That means clear boundaries, open communication, mutual care, space for both people to have their own lives. So if you have all those things with your platonic friend, and your partner has all those things with his or her platonic friends, it could actually all work. And then you can be friends with their platonic friends. I've heard, apparently, that sometimes happens. I've never had it happen. So when it all works and you become friends with the partner's friends, what happens if there's a breakup? Who gets who? How do you decide who gets who? Who's getting primary custody of the friend? Who's getting primary custody of the platonic friend? Lots of P's in that sentence. Yeah, I wonder, how does that work out? I, again, haven't had it happen, but I imagine it's probably really sticky. And I think I've seen it with my friends. To be honest, I've had friends that have had it happen. I just haven't had it happen myself. But I think that if women become friends with other women that are friends with their partner, and then they break up, sometimes women become closer friends than they were with the original platonic partner because they have more in common. And I imagine if you're a woman with a guy friend and your guy friend becomes friends with your partner, your male partner, whatever the case might be, I think that guys have more to bond over. You start a friendship with someone of the opposite sex, I think, most of the time, to get information about the opposite sex. Clue me in what it's like. Why do you do the things you do? It's like a science experiment. It's not true. I have a lot of male friends, but that's very funny. I do kind of pick their brains, though, and be like, what is it? If you're in a relationship and you're having a problem and you're going to send a text, there is no better person to run that text by than your platonic male friend. Probably the same for a man if he's got a platonic female friend before he sends a text. But I have had my text rewritten by my male friends. They have Cyrano'd me. I use Cyrano a lot. Cyrano de Bergerac. They have taken my text messages, they have rewritten them and sent them, and I've got a way better outcome than had I done it myself with one of my girlfriends. So I think there's a lot of really positive things about platonic friendships. But again, what happens in a breakup? Who gets who? How do you negotiate who gets weekends? Where are you going for Christmas? Where are you celebrating the holidays? So had this had happened to me in my breakup, I imagine I would have got full custody of everybody because I, in fact, am nicer, sweeter, kinder, funnier, better than my ex-partner. So they would have won, but they didn't. They stayed with him, go down with the ship. Taking me would have been more fun. So what does a guy-friend friendship look like when it really is platonic and safe? And let's be real. The best friendships are not just about avoiding drama. They actively make you feel good. You should feel seen, supported, energized. You can be honest with your platonic friends without any fear of judgment. They make room for your quirks and your chaos, and they actually celebrate you when life gets messy. The best friendships don't make you feel anxious and insecure. They make you feel seen and supported. And if they don't, then you need to reevaluate who your platonic friends are. Healthy platonic friendships are rare, but when you find them, they are worth the effort. They should feel like coming home to someone who knows you, sees you, and really wants the best for you, even if they're not in your apartment every weekend, because that would be weird. I had a platonic friendship, and important, the word had is in the sentence because we are no longer friends. But we had a great friendship. We met at work, male, clearly, was in a relationship when we met, I think. He was a big dater, so I don't remember that part. So look, I was the shitty platonic friend because I don't know if he was in a partnership. But anyway, we became friends. We became really good friends. We hung out all the time. He was kind of like my little brother, big guy, younger than me though. So he looked to me for advice. And again, I was single, so it was nice to have a male to spend time with and to just, bum around the city. And we did that a lot. But at one point, he lost his apartment and he asked to stay with me. So he started staying at my house. Now I had a 500 square foot apartment in Soho, and he was like 6'2", and I had this little ottoman, and he would sleep on the ottoman. Of course, not in bed with me because we are just friends. But I would come home and he'd be in my space. And it's very hard. It's very hard in a friendship when you're not lovers and you're in the same space. That's another thing about platonic friendships. They go home. It's fantastic. You don't have to wake up to them. But I ended up having him move in with me because he was, again, he had no spot. He had no house at the time. He then, which is the crazy part of the story, he lost his mind. He's schizophrenic and he ended up homeless. And God bless, I don't know where he is at the moment, but he started showing signs of it when he was living with me. He left a bag of his and he went off looking for a job. He had lived in Asia for a while and he came back, he lost his apartment, he came to stay with me because I was the best platonic girlfriend. The best was the platonic I was. So he's out looking for jobs and he left this weird briefcase and apparently he wrapped it up with all these, this is a crazy story, all these rubber bands as a lock. And he came home and I was in the living room and he saw a pen on the floor. Apparently he had been writing the night before and thought he put the pen back in his bag, then locked it all up. And then said pen was out in my living room. And he told me that I had gone in his bag and stolen this pen and had the pen out. And I was like, what are you talking about, you weirdo? Why would I steal a pen? I have 5,000 pens. We worked at a bar. We had 100 pens. Everyone has 1 million pens when you work in F&B, food and beverage. But he was like, no, that's a very special pen. And I wouldn't have left it on the floor. And I'm like, well, I don't need your stupid pen. And I remember telling my best friend about that. And she said, from the minute I met him, I thought he had something wrong with him. He was the person who had 14 digits for his ATM card. And she told me she thought he was schizo. And guess what? Come to find out, after living with me, he came in one day and told me that he made the birds stop on the sky, that he, oh, there are so many signs. So yeah, it's a tell. When your friend thinks they make the birds stop in the sky, you should probably rethink that platonic friendship. But anyway, yes, I had my platonic friend move in my little apartment with me and he lost his mind. We ended up, before he was fully crazy, I don't know if crazy is the right word, whatever the word is now, we were at home one night when there was a slight sickness happening. There was slightly something off kilter, but he was really handsome. And we ended up fooling around one night and we did have sex. So sorry, I just snorted. So I think that maybe I made him crazy. I think that maybe that was me. The love that he had for me was so overwhelmed with the amazingness of Kelly that it made him completely crazy. Anyway, he ended up on the street and it was very sad. I'm making a joke of something that's not actually funny. He did go crazy. And I slept with him. And he was my platonic friend. Then he wasn't my platonic friend. Then he was my ex-crazy friend who I had sex with. So that's my story about not coming home to your platonic friend every night. Don't do that. It messes up the friendship. Don't have your platonic friend at your house every weekend for sleepovers. That's weird. To be clear, I was single and he was single when we ended up fooling around. And it wouldn't have ruined a friendship. We would have been able to remain friends. He had clinical issues that ended up ending our friendship. And I hope he's fine. But we were both single. So it wasn't like either one of us were cheating, which really matters in the story because I was a platonic friend until I wasn't. Had I had a partner, I would have never let him move in with me because the most important thing in this situation is to always put yourself in your partner's shoes. He would not have been comfortable, nor would I. You want to make sure that your partner has no concerns and that they always feel comfortable around you and your friends. At the end of the day, platonic friendships aren't about perfection. They're about clarity, respect, and peace of mind for everyone involved. Platonic friendships exist, but they're complicated. Remember, boundaries are not optional. Your instincts matter more than anyone else's assurances. You can step back without any guilt. And healthy friendships support you. They do not drain you. You're allowed to question, to set limits, and prioritize your peace. more honesty, more clarity, less overthinking, and way stronger boundaries is what we're bringing to the table going forward. Don't forget to subscribe, rate Still Can't Cook 5 stars, and send this to the friend who's friends with everyone, or the one who makes your gut scream at 2 a.m. Thanks for being here. We'll see you next week for a brand new episode of Still Can't Cook. Bye. Hey guys, thank you so much for showing up for another episode of Still Can't Cook. Subscribe to us wherever you listen to your podcasts, on YouTube or any other podcast provider. And if you're on Instagram or TikTok, please follow us at Still Can't Cook. Love to have you guys back every week. So happy that you joined us and look forward to seeing you next week.